Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good, and welcome back for another showcase. This one is going to be a little bit unique. I was actually working through this for a little while and really did want to showcase these two units because they do bring in certain values based on certain conditions and settings or whatnot. I did see like periodic comments here and there about people wanting to see these units, so I did finish the link skill level grind, and here we are. Both of them are at 100% potential, as you saw. And I didn't assign any equipments on them just yet. I'm still kind of deciding whether I ultimately want to do that or not. But either way, we can finally showcase these guys and have a little fun. These guys are going to be paired up every single rotation throughout the video. That was the intention of how I wanted to showcase the unit. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about both of these guys. The first one, I'll start with the Strength type Super Paikuhan. It's actually timing-wise works out pretty well because we are expecting the Super Dragon Ball Heroes collab banner to drop at some point in the coming weeks, at least on JP anyway. So this is a unit that came out of that. Leader skills, all types key +3, HP attack and defense increase of 60%. The super attack will cause supreme damage to enemy and also greatly lowers attack. For the passive skills, key +3, attack and defense increase of 80%, launches an additional attack that's got a medium chance of becoming a super attack when facing only one enemy, launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack when facing 2 or more enemies. So obviously with the built-in skill sets for greatly lowering attack, as well as having the ability for multiple supers depending on how many types of enemies you're facing, this guy's pretty damn good, to be honest with you. In terms of links, at level 10, you've got Gentleman, that's key +2, defense increase of 10%. Brainiac's is attack and defense increase of 15%. Tough as Nails is defense increase of 20% and reduces damage received by 5%. Shocking Speed is key +2 and defense increase of 5%. Experienced Fighters is attack increase of 15%. Supreme Warrior is key +2, attack increase of 10%. And Shattering the Limit is key +2, attack and defense increase of 5%. This unit falls into 3 categories: Worthy Rivals, Dragon Ball Heroes, Battle of Wits. I decided to basically showcase both of these units on the Battle of Wits / Majin Buu Saga category. A lot of decent units to pair these guys up with, so it works out pretty well. 12 key multiplier for the Super Paikuhan is 140%. And then moving on to the INT type Paikuhan. So there is a variation between the JP and global versions. I'll just cover the JP for now, and we can talk about the global side here in a second. Leader skill for this unit is Intelligence type key +2, HP attack and defense increase of 70%. Super attack, similar to the Super Paikuhan unit, causes supreme damage to enemy and also greatly lowers attack. So you can imagine on one rotation with both of these units included, you can massively lower attack if the enemy's not immune to it. In addition to that, the passive skill is an attack increase of 100%, all enemies defense minus 50%. 50% that is. So a pretty decent defensive drop toward the enemies, along with also greatly lowering attack. So it's very, very beneficial to have, especially in like Super Battle Road settings. And now in terms of links, they're pretty much similar to the Strength Paikuhan unit, a little bit different variations, but if you got links like Supreme Warrior, Gentleman, Experienced Fighters, Shocking Speed, Cold Judgment, Otherworld Warriors, and Shattering the Limit. Unfortunately, the Otherworld Warriors link, even though it's basically a very nice little hefty boost, that is the equivalent of an attack increase of 20% and defense increase of 10%. The Strength Paikuhan actually doesn't have that, unfortunately, so definitely missing out on an extra 20% toward attack and defense of 10%. But everything else, they do link up pretty well. So overall, they work out massively well together. Now, global is slightly different from even like HP attack and defense stats standpoint, and also some of the passive skills a little bit different. Like the difference I see immediately is compared to JP. So like JP's passive is 100% toward attack, all enemies defense minus 50%. The global side, which is the Strength Paikuhan, is attack increase of 70%, all enemies defense minus 30%, so obviously a little bit different again, like I said, HP attack and defense fluctuates between the two versions a little bit, so there are differences ultimately between the two different sides. 12 key multiplier for this guy is 140%. So again, just in summary, the combination of being able to greatly lower attack with the supers and also the built-in skill sets, either through, a fair amount of, additional attack potentials for potentially a super attack, or, flat out reducing enemies' defense by 50%. All those combined, they are going to make a substantial difference. And I'm sure you've noticed by now that, the level of damage received will massively change depending on how many times these guys are able to super each rotation. With that being said, I did choose stage 2 of the Infinite Dragon Ball history because all the enemies here you can actually reduce their attack, so it's a good place to show off these units. I did consider potentially just running the Super Battle Road setting. I might do that for a separate video, whereas you can actually see the impact from these units. The only thing I will say, though, is the fact that, simply put, you're facing multiple enemies on, the Super Battle Road setting, so you can't necessarily pinpoint, reducing the enemy's attack, just focusing on one unit. You kind of have to course it out over several units, or, kind of prioritize which units you want to go after first. But, I think with that still being said, greatly lowering attack is a hell of a drop. I don't know. I don't remember what the exact percentage is. Let me actually look at that. It's actually a 30% reduction to attack for 3 turns. So you can imagine a 30% drop for 3 turns on an enemy's attack. That's potentially going to save you a lot of HP and item consumption on the SPR setting. So I've tested this out before. Just not with the max level link. So I am curious to see what kind of level of impact you're seeing based on, the extra percentage boost and key boost you see out of the link skill levels. So yeah, it'll be interesting to find out. I know this guy did receive the Strength Super Paikuhan did receive a Dokkan Awakening, and it made him phenomenally better, like much better than he was before. So going into the banners in the coming weeks, I would expect we'll see additional Dokkan Awakenings happening for the Dragon Ball Heroes units. I would imagine, like it's almost like expected at this point. Like some of the ones that came out last year that aren't necessarily TURs at this point, they're likely going to get that, because typically in the past, the year after, they'll come out with the Dokkan Awakening for the units that came out from the prior year. So that's pretty much what I would expect out of that. So like some of the stuff that came out, like the, Xenogoku and Vegeta, stuff like that, I guess, the Super Saiyan 4s, whatever. Those are likely going to get some sort of Dokkan Awaken, or at least I would hope so anyway. And we'll be able to see what kind of, impact they have, I guess, in the game. And it'll be interesting to see, because, whenever changes happen in terms of like Dokkan Awakenings, for the most part, units do become phenomenally better. And hopefully that is the same case. Like, out of the Dragon Ball Heroes banner, the most commonly used ones for me are obviously, Super Paikuhan to a certain degree. I do use them in certain situations. The Supreme Kai of Time is probably the most used out of the group for me, and that's just because of the types of categories and teams I run. So it just makes sense to use them more often than others. So. Outside of that, they're solid units. I don't really necessarily place them at the highest level of importance in terms of like the banners throughout the year. I think it's more or less just almost like fan service. Some of the units are very good, but I tend to lean a little bit more heavy importance toward like the year-end banners and the 6-year banners and whatever. Like we should expect a double race banner coming out on toward the end of December, which is typically when that happens. And then, of course, shortly after that, we have the 6-year anniversary coming out for JP. So, a lot of activities coming up, and I don't necessarily know if, the banner coming up is the most important one. I guess the silver lining to that is you're pretty much guaranteed a feature with every multi for a certain amount of times, I think. So with that being said, I could definitely see some value in it. I'll probably end up, testing the rates for about maybe 500 stones, that kind of thing. Maybe not go a little, I don't plan on going more than 500. That's probably the best way to put it. So, we'll see what happens with that. But at the end of the day, I think in summary, like a lot of good units do come out of the Dragon Ball Heroes banner, even though I don't necessarily use them a lot. There's definitely value in them. So, Paikuhan's a good example of that. The strength type Super Paikuhan is a pretty good unit overall, and again, like Super Battle Row settings, you might not necessarily need this guy, but when you do include him on a team, he's actually quite good. So that's probably the best way to explain it. You're actually seeing a run here where it's on the Shadow Dragon Saga stage, by the way. I intentionally put this in there because a lot of the enemies are, immune to either or in some cases like both of them, but they're immune to either, attack or defense decreases, right? So you're actually going to see an impact of how much of a struggle these guys tend to go through when you're actually not reducing enemies' attacks. So unless when that power is taken away from them, they're actually a pretty big liability to some extent. So I kind of wanted to include them on, if you do decide to run these guys on events where you can't necessarily reduce their attack or defense, you're gonna find some problems with their abilities in terms of specifically defense. Offense, obviously you can kind of make do with that with other units that are more powerful, but if they're a reliability or if they're a liability toward defense, then that is potentially a problem. And you're seeing how much in damage they're taking. I think the super attack that the INT version just took with type advantage was 100k, so you can imagine type disadvantage of whatever setting you're expecting a lot of damage received by that. So at the end of the day, it depends on, it really ultimately depends on what you want to run these guys for. They have very specific purposes as to what they serve and the best way to utilize them. So this is more or less a showcase kind of showing you two different settings, one where you actually can apply the attack decreases on the enemy, and the other one just being flat out dealing with it without debuffing the enemy's stats, so to speak. So that's pretty much in summary how these guys perform. I'm pretty content, to be honest with you. They were able to produce 1 million plus in attack stats, and defensively they're able to do pretty well given the fact that when they have the ability to reduce defense and attack on the enemy, they definitely do very well. So that's probably the best way to summarize these two units. Personally, I like them a lot, just because of how unique they are and how uncommon they are in terms of like today's current state of Dokkan battles. So I definitely did want to showcase these guys and show you all what's up with these two units. I'm not necessarily disappointed. I think they pretty much were exactly what I expected. I was a little bit happy they were consistently able to hit 1 million plus, given there's a supporting floater on the rotation. But with everything being said, I think they're still pretty solid units. Super Paikuhan's definitely better than the INT version. So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the showcase on a little bit more of an obscure unit. So thanks for watching as always, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later. All right, peace out.